Hi, I'm Carol Robinson. Welcome to this edition of County Happenings, where we find out what's happening in the county with our county mayor, Rogers Anderson.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am recovering from the fair.
It's only been a few days since the last day of the fair, and already, I mean, in the midway, we knew it was going to be it was a great fair already.
Well, you know, first of all, let's just acknowledge that we have a great fair.
Yeah.
It's safe, it's clean, it's educational, it's about agriculture, but you just don't take anything away from that gorgeous weather we had.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was September and August.
Well, and you know, we had a 9-day fair,
Mm-hmm.
and the first 2 days of the fair we had cloudy, overcast conditions, and actually had to implement one of the things we worked on all throughout the year prior to the fair, and that was our public safety division.
Yeah, you had a little scare.
We had a little incident called Mother Nature, high winds and dark clouds,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of herded everyone inside the Ag Center, which was the safest place to be. People were fantastic about cooperating and participating with the equipment that we have, and we actually set up a room. It was on the fairgrounds, hidden away from everyone, and put up some radar that we could pinpoint where the clouds were, where the adverse weather was, and we could get it within 100 yards.
Wow.
So when those clouds got to an area that we felt like that we needed to pay attention and get people in safe areas, we shut the fair down. We put in a new electronic system, speaker system, that we could broadcast that out to all parts of the fairground. And working with Drew, our midway people, we were able to get him to shut his rides down. They used the radios and immediately get people inside. And I'm sure there were some people that got wet that just enjoyed saying, well, they don't know what
They
they're
need
talking
a shower
about.
that
They
day.
need a shower that day, that's right. But for the most part, we shut it down for about an hour. People came inside, and of course the vendors and all of the exhibitors on the inside of the air-conditioned arena, they loved it.
Yeah, people.
There's all of a sudden, all of those masses of bodies that were outside were now inside buying their wares and buying their food and seeing the exhibits in there. So it is certainly nice to have an air-conditioned event.
Yeah.
Our numbers, we're still working on those and tweaking, but we know that we've had a very successful fair.
If you were walking through any one of those days where you just can barely get through the crowds, you knew there were a lot of people there.
You know, for people that didn't have an opportunity to go to the 2012 fair, you missed something this year. It was laid out different, wonderful theme, life on the farm. It was,
and everything kept with that theme.
yes. We're already working on the 2013 fair that will start August the 2nd next year. We had a meeting, several of us got together talking about the things that were good and the things that we could work on for improvement. Parking is an absolute problem for us when we get that many people.
Yeah.
But
That seems to be the nemesis every year.
it's the nemesis of most fairgrounds because most of the fair activity, if you can get there before 6 o'clock, you're fine. But from about 6 or 6:30 till about 8:30 is when the masses decide to come. And you don't want to take away from that. You want to be able to build on that. And for about an hour of that 2-hour window, it's really chaotic to the point that you've got your law enforcement personnel, you've got your volunteers from Centennial Band that are parking people, which, you know, we write them a check at the end of the fair. We put money back in the community. We're going into areas that, okay, those are our emergency backup valve. Well, we had all those filled, and we still need to get those cars off the road. You don't want anybody to leave their home and not have the opportunity to go there. So we're going to explore some ways that we can handle it again. Now, next year it may be 100 degrees, and you don't have that influx of people.
Although I think people, even on some of those warmer days, people were coming.
Oh yes,
People were coming, and I think when you've decided you're going to go, if you've been before and you've had a good time, or you've heard that everybody is, other people have gone and had a good time, once you've made the plans, usually the weather doesn't usually stop you.
Well, we know we did a whole bunch of things correct. We tried some new things this year, and the vast majority of them worked. One of the things that we started this year that we kind of field tested the year before was looking at coupon redemptions and how you can get into the fairgrounds.
You're talking about digital coupons,
yes,
electronic coupons.
If you paid full price for the fair, that told me you came on the last Saturday. We didn't have any discounts going on.
Or Friday. You didn't have anything
or Friday
on Friday
evening. But the other 7 days of the non-fair, one night it was completely free. Just wear school color and you could get in. They had special prices for those that wanted to do the wristbands. We had a record, an absolute all-new record for Little Ones Farming people going through that. The event that the children could see, they had over 32,000 people to go through that in that 9-day event. And on Wednesday night, the one night you wouldn't think would be a crowd, in a 4-hour window, they shot through 2,400 people.
I remember being down there that Wednesday night, and I'm thinking, what are these children doing here?
So, and our fairgrounds is limited, and we've got it packed in. But we did try a new procedure this year. There's a organization called Groupon. There's another one called Spree. There's another one called something else that slips in my mind right now. And the way you do that, you go online and you buy your tickets at a discount. And now you can either print them off on a piece of paper like here, or you can store them on your iPhone. And when you come to the fairgrounds, if you give us the coupon, it says, okay, you get you and your husband price of one. We simply take that and we activate that through a scan bar that we have, and then we collect our money from the vendor that you bought it from. If you're using the iPhone, you come through, you lay your telephone over the scanner, or we can activate it for you right there that you've purchased a ticket, you're being green, you don't want to do the paper. So
wow.
we know we reached a whole new audience of people that are in that area that they didn't come to the fair because of the discount. They came to the fair because they'd heard it was good. It was being tweeted. It was on Facebook. Everyone was sending a picture of a good experience they had, and they were sending it out to their many friends, and that generated. And they said, "Oh, by the way, you can get discounted."
You can't buy that publicity.
No, you can't. So, if you're sitting there and thinking, "Well, just how many did you have?" Yeah. We are over 30,000 coupons.
And still counting.
And still counting.
Wow.
So that's 25 to 35 is a number. We were hoping for 15. And so all of a sudden, about halfway through this fair, we're scratching our head thinking, oh my goodness, what do we do now? And so all of us, every day, we're trying to figure out how do we handle this issue, and this didn't work, this did work, but clearly we'll be in electronic ticket mode next year, a little bit wiser and being prepared for it. And I think the people like that, particularly your children, my children's age. These telephones are just a way of life.
Yeah.
And they purchase things, they buy things, they secure things.
It's amazing what they can do on the phones, and my daughter will do something, go, how'd you do that?
But it is, and so we being the old red-headed person of the fair, and several others out there, we have to figure out ways to handle that, because that is a way of life. Before we get too far off from the fair, again, we want to say thanks to all of our sponsors. I am not even going to attempt to name them.
Yeah, they did a good job of having a good variety of sponsors this year.
And our vendors that participated, our vendors who were selling the funnel cakes and the ice cream,
the fried food.
The fried food. We had a huge selection this year of food. I thought Cheryl, who is our vendor representative, did an excellent job of only getting 2 shaved ices or 2 of this, so that you weren't just bombarded with the same product. And we even had some Oriental food there this year.
I saw that. Yeah.
You know, I mean that just doesn't compute with me with a fair. Egg rolls and a fair just didn't. But they did real good. In fact, they've indicated they wanted to come back, and so thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to the 1,300 plus volunteers that gave of their time and energy. I continually say this when I'm on a talking event. We have one paid person, and she works all year long. She's on a contracted basis. She handles the paperwork, files the reports, et cetera, et cetera. We have 2 other people that work on commissions that help us get sponsors, help us to get those vendors, but everyone else
I know, and
is a volunteer.
And a lot of those people work like they're full-time employees.
Yes.
They just work. They're working another job, and then they work a fair. It's just amazing the hours that they put in.
And they love it. I was just talking to Jack Walton, the county commission chairman. Between him and Tommy Little, who's one of the county commission members, Paul Webb and his wife Pat. They lived at the fair every night.
Yeah, every time I came in, the
mayor of Brentwood
the mayor
is driving
Brentwood.
carts.
Yeah.
And it this whole energy or synergy that's being provided just in 8 short years. You know, we were away from the fair for 55 years.
Right.
And it's come back in full force.
And I was talking to somebody the other day. They had read one of my stories, and they said, 8 years? It's only been around 8 years? And I go, yeah.
Well,
after more than 50 years, you know, hiatus. But
if you're watching this show and you're interested in volunteering, please get a hold of me, 790-5700. I'm sure they could contact you at the avenues through the paper, and if you'd like to participate, whether it's just 2 hours or you want to put more time in to make it a better fair, and I think you will really enjoy seeing a lot of the people.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very friendly organization, and
you see neighbors there you haven't seen in a long time, and
church members involved. And the other thing, we have not determined what our theme will be for the next year's fair in 2013. It starts August the 2nd, but in the next 60 days to 90 days, we'll come up with a theme for that. And our whole mission from the fair from day one was to keep it safe, keep it clean, educate, and focus it around the agriculture side. And many, many exhibitors out there displayed that. And the general theme was living on the farm. We had a gentleman bring in a whole kit and caboodle, I call it, of he actually ground up and had molasses right there on the fairgrounds, and you could sample them. And he had one of his employees cooking pot stew on an old black kettle,
and making biscuits.
And making biscuits the old-fashioned way, and you could sample those.
Yeah.
And so boys and girls today probably don't see a lot of that unless they're involved in some activity outdoors.
Like scouts, yeah.
Scouts. But if you're interested in doing that, go to our website. We have an award-winning website. You can pull it up and participate. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. Now, there's other news going on other than the fair.
Oh, yes, there is.
Just prior to the fair, you did a State of the County address at the Chamber and talked about what's happened over this year with the county as far as business, all business concerned. Tell us a little bit about what shape is the county? I mean, the county is a business. County government is a business.
Excuse me.
How are we doing?
We are doing very well, and thanks to a guy that is retiring, David Coleman. Let me get a plug in for him. And the person that will be taking David's spot will be Nina Graham. She's been behind the scenes. David's been with us 17 years. She's been with us 21 years. We went through an interviewing process. We posted the job, and I'll be submitting her name to county commissioners in September for confirmation for her to take over as the budget director. David and Nina our county commissioners voting on it, the direction that I emphasize, this is where we need to be. We're in very good shape. Our Moody's AAA bond rating is still very secure. We were able to fund the programs that we needed to fund without going through all of the hassle that you see in some of the other surrounding counties fighting with the schools. And the schools cooperated and said this is the year that we can make do with what we got based on the growth.
And their growth has been 11,600 kids, which is unbelievable in a school system, you know, in this economy that Williamson County schools are still growing. People are moving here, and having kids, and the schools are growing. And you hear all around the country where school systems are cutting back and closing schools, and Williamson County's building schools.
Dr. Mike Looney told me recently we were planning on having approximately 1,050 children for this year's growth, and already they're looking at probably having to hire an additional teacher or two to handle the growth. As you know, children don't come in nice little packages of 25. They come in onesies and twosies and threesies. But you can almost, when you go back to the state of the county, you can see that evolution of new children coming because new home sales are up, unemployment's down.
And the ranking, talk about the ranking we are statewide and nationally, because that was pretty impressive.
Williamson County is one of 13 Middle Tennessee counties. We call everything now is kind of quantified in regions. And you've done a lot of stories on regional topics through the Herald, talking about transportation issues. When you leave Davidson County, leave Nashville, you come to Williamson County. When you get to Old Hickory, that's about the divide line between the two counties. People don't care. Only elected officials and people that have to pay for it care. When the state does their transportation plan, they go all the way down. They don't care whether they're in Williamson County or Davidson County.
Or Murray County.
That's right. But for us as individuals, why? Because we pay those taxes. We can't spend our tax dollars in surrounding counties. But you do things in a collaborative effort. You try to figure out solutions to problems. And transportation has always been an issue. But the growth in here in Williamson County, well, let's back up and come forward, and maybe this will make a little sense. During a 10-year window between 2000 and 2010, Williamson County was the fastest growing county in the state of Tennessee, percentage-wise. Now, there were other counties that grew more numbers. We went from 126,000 to 183,000. That's large in itself, but you get some of the larger ones, the cities, they grew numerically more, but not as a percentage. And I think percentages tell you more about your state of your population than actual numerical numbers. So we're the #1 fastest growing county. Why?
There's got to be reasons for that.
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons. I think for the most part, people have bought into, Carol, they've bought into the concept this is a good place to work and play and have your children go to schools, whether it's public schools or private schools, and our quality of life.
But we also have been in the last that 10-year period we went through. The recession started. There was actually 2 recessions, a mini one and then the big one, and we still maintained that this was a good place to work because there were jobs.
There were, and we make an effort to produce those, help to facilitate. We don't actually produce anything. In fact, in just that's occurring right now, Tractor Supply has made a major announcement. They're going to stay in Brentwood. They were being courted. They were being dated, if that, you know what courting means. I'm sure Newt does. That, you know, they were being asked to relocate out of Williamson County and go to another county because that's jobs. And they were also being...
And they were considering enlarging the
Yes,
facility.
they were, and And they were also have been asked to investigate another state. Mm-hmm. So over the last 4 or 5 months, we've been having meetings with them, Matt Largen, the city officials in Brentwood, since it's in their city limits, been meeting with them. And the state of Tennessee got involved because they certainly did not want to lose a major corporation like Tractor Supply that already has a lot of jobs, and they were getting ready to expand. It's so much cheaper for a business to stay in place, right, if you can make those numbers work, and they did that. And that's indicative of the low unemployment that we continue to have had here in Williamson County, even during those difficult times, right, like you've outlined. Now, with that comes problems of additional costs maybe in schools, additional costs that you've got to borrow money to build the schools, transportation, et cetera, et cetera. But during my 3 terms and almost 10 years being mayor of this county, and I'm thankful that I've been able to do that, we have to always help promote and push and encourage new job growth. That's for your children, my children, our grandchildren, to be able to have a good public school system that when you finish, if you desire to go on to college, that you're prepared for that, or a university, or for a skill, whatever that may be. But we want you to come back. Most of us want our children to come back.
Yes.
And I think most children will come back in an area that they're familiar with, provided
if they have something to come to.
They have to be able to work. They have to be able to buy that house. They have to be able to go to the grocery store. We don't want them living back with us.
No.
We just, on a long-term basis, we just
want them to live maybe on the other side of the county.
That's right.
Not next door.
But it is important, and then you have to have the workforce for companies like Community Health and Nissan and Verizon, that when these companies come to town, it's not just a matter of, okay, we're opening up the doors, fill out an application. These are very technical jobs, not like when I was a young boy or my parents. You know, just get in line, fill out an application, and we'll teach you the job. Today's talent.
Yeah, you got to come in with some knowledge.
You've got to come in with some knowledge, and you certainly would go a lot faster if you've got a skill set. And so that's why we're educating these children, and our graduation rate's 93%. That's still 7 kids out of 100 that are not finishing high school, which is amazing. So you put all that in that big old bushel basket, and you shake it real good from handle to handle, and you say, well, let's look at that. What does that do for us, Williamson County, Middle Tennessee?
And nationally, because you've got to draw, where you're drawing from is nationally.
Oh, absolutely.
There's, you know, and there's got to be a reason why the Nissans and places like that want to come to Middle Tennessee.
Well, at the end of the day, Carol, what happened was amazing. Williamson County has got the lowest unemployment, has been tied with another county on and off for the last 2 or 3 years for that low unemployment. We were the 6th best place to do business in the United States for the first 6 months of 2012. Now that also is data from 2011. And so that's new job growth, that's job opportunities. We now have employers, as reported, that are having to go out of our area to find workers to fit niches. And one of those niches is in the area of information technology, IT as we're referring to. These aren't just the people like me that push a button and turn it on and do keyboarding. These are people that work behind the scenes and coordinate that. And when you think about Williamson County's #1 vocation, #1 employer is healthcare, and lots of them, you need a lot of IT. Whether you like the new healthcare laws that are on the books now, whether you dislike those laws or they can ever be changed, healthcare continues to move on down the road.
Right.
And you have to meet
it's
those
going to be
objectives.
here no matter what.
Businesses cannot wait on politicians to make decisions in Washington, whether it's good or bad, or even Nashville, or even Williamson County. Businesses have to say, this is where we are today, and we're going that way. And if you don't, you get left behind, and somebody else will gobble you up. So That's part of the reasons we still, I think one of the things I'd like to leave you with, and you do a story on it, no one's touched on it, mainly because no one's really brought it out. But Williamson County being the fastest growing county in the state, that growth occurred within our city limits. All of that growth occurred. If you look at the unincorporated area that's not inside the cities, by design over the last 10 years, we actually reduced in population.
Wow. And one thing that I was impressed with was the ranking of Williamson County in agriculture. I think it was 16th in the out of 99 counties. So you think with all the what they say crowding and all the population density, that there's no place for farms. Come out to my place.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important. The professional people call that smart growth. I don't know if I like that term or not. There is some annexation that has occurred in 10 years, but there hadn't been a lot because we had some rough times and cities weren't trying to take on more. They were trying to backfill what they had. But anytime you can say you're going to build here as opposed to out here in the rural area, your infrastructure cost you don't have to worry about as much.
Right.
I know we're running out of time.
Well, and speaking of infrastructure, one of the things you're doing is in Nolensville.
Yes.
The community center there.
The old
because that's growing like crazy.
Oh,
over
it's
there.
growing. We built K-8 school and 2 elementary schools over there just in the last 5 to 6 years. They're taking the old Nolensville Elementary School and working with the leadership in Nolensville, their mayor and alderman, and working with our county commissioner from that district under the tutelage of Doug Hood. We will be building a recreation facility at the old Nolensville School. We'll take the school,
transforming it into.
We'll renovate it, put some new paint on it. We are going to change the format of it on the outside. We think it's going to be about a $5 million project.
Will it have a pool?
They're going to build a pool also. One of those 0 grades where you just walk right in.
Wow, how nice. Similar to the one in Fairview then?
Very similar.
That's
and we're excited about it. That gives that part of the community an opportunity to participate in recreation because there's nothing out there.
Right, they have to come all the way into Brentwood for anything.
Or go to Antioch.
Yeah, we don't want them going to Antioch.
We want to spend their money in Williamson County.
Well, this has been great. There's so much on my notes that we never even touch, which is par for the course. But thanks for joining me, and thank you for joining us on County Happenings. See you next time.